So when you have a model and you have all the proper motivation that led you up to the point where now you've made the decision, you went to sleep the previous day, you woke up with every expectation that you're going to go into this following the plan, following the model, following the rules. You're looking for this setup to form. And now you're here. You're in front of the charts. You're there. And you do what? You act impulsively. You see something that is not your model. Perfect example. I'll give you something. You've done the work. You've done the analysis. You've listened to me talk about what I think the market's going to likely draw to on a higher time frame. You committed to the idea that that's probably what you're going to subscribe to. So you're only going to focus in that direction. And that's the proper mindset. Not that you should be handheld, but that's why I do it. So that way you can keep your premise, your bias, the narrative focused on that time frame draw. You won't be 100%. But now, because you're in front of the charts, subconsciously, you're demanding that you're 100%. Is that practical? Is that realistic? Is that something that anyone could reasonably expect to have? Especially if they're new? No, of course not. But that motivation that carried you to that moment, where now you're in front of the charts, you're ready to do your model, you're ready to pull the trigger. All you have to do is wait for that fair value gap to form, because it's going to be moving up quickly, and it's going to create that little buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency, and it's going to form it in a place where it allows you to capture 12 to 15 handles. So that means your minimum criteria for the trade would be met. It's really there. But unfortunately, it's not there yet. And what happens is you start seeing price run. And in your mind, you're thinking, this is going to be one of those times where it's not going to create a fair value gap. And here I am. I did all the work. I got all this stuff drawn on my chart. I have all the lipstick. I have all the motivation. I'm here now. And I know what's going to happen, because Murphy's Law says that whatever can go wrong is going to go wrong, and it's going to run without me. And I'm not going to be able to accept that, because I've done all this preliminary analysis. I've done all this preliminary workup, listening to this guy, Jawbone. I'm all pumped up. I'm ready to go. And here it's running. It just took off 8 handles straight, one shot. It's running. Your mind's going to be tricked by that because you haven't watched price enough. That motivation to do the right things gets replaced with impulsiveness, because the lack of experience, the lack of the doing of it, being there, not just simply watching price. That's the first stage. Is tapering is just the first stage. Then you got to do it with a demo and submit to the idea that the rules still have to be applied. But then with live fund trading, or the equivalent thereof, where you can lose something, your funded account, challenge account, your funded account, or your live account, you want to capture money. And the lack of experience that you have, and everybody has that lack in the beginning, and all of you, and I was not exempt from this. I wanted to get through that stage quickly. I wanted to leave it behind me in my rearview mirror. I want to be able to say, yeah, see you later. I ain't never going back to that town again, which is ignorance, neophyteville, beginner. Like, you want to be able to leave the ranks of a newbie. When I'm encouraging you to live there for a little while, because that's going to teach you who you are. And it's going to show you the character flaws that you have, that you're pretending you don't have, that you've been hiding from yourself your entire life. However long you've been on a spinning rock, all of you have character flaws. I don't hide mine. I don't hide it. I tell you where they are. I tell you where my weaknesses are. Because when I was a younger man, I tried to pretend they didn't exist. And they were impediments to me. They held me back. They were the barriers that I hugged. I held on to them. I held on to it like something wrapped in barbed wire. It's not comfortable, but you get used to that uncomfortable state and it becomes normal for you. Like that's why abusive relationships go on. Spouses that, beat their wives because they're weak men. That women train themselves to because they have children. They don't want to break that family up. They know what that man's doing to her is not right. But they allow it to go on because it becomes normal for them. And change is a little bit more scary because it begins to bring in more uncertainty. And as humans, we don't like uncertainty. But in this industry, you chose to be in one that is always uncertain. There's nothing 100%. All the things that I have, all the things that I share, my track record, when I pull it out and I point to something before it happens, look around. You've been walking with me now for well, almost 2 years now publicly. How many things did I call and not happen? Very, very, very small number of that. But how many things were right and correct and where the market went to? You can't reasonably expect to be like that in the beginning. And when you learn from someone, when I was a martial artist, I wanted to be as good as the guy that was teaching me and then better. That's what I wanted. Anything that they did that was impressive, I needed to do it better than them. Why? Because I had this deep ingrained necessity for me to be significant because while I was growing up in Cardboard City, I was part of what we considered white trash. We lived in low income and I got in fistfights and stomped the shit out of people that thought they were better than me. I curbed stomped people. You know what that is? Where you stomp their ass, you beat them, you drag them over to a curb, you open their mouth up with their teeth on the edge of the curb, and you stomp the back of their head. I've done that before. And the sound that makes, you'll never forget it. Those are things that I've done as a kid with people older than me because they talked down to me. They acted like they were better than me. So what drives me, and still to today, is that deep scar. I was the guy on the other side of the tracks growing up. I didn't come into this world with a silver spoon in my ass. I didn't have that. Everything was a hard thing to do. And it took a lot longer than I wanted it to do. And it was very difficult. I had a lot of opposition around me. People would try to tell me, you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to just, amount to the same thing we do. And then I went to school and they tried to talk me out of that. And they said, you're not going to get good grades. And I got great grades. Constantly, the enemy constantly will work on you to try to discourage you. And if you're strong enough that you have the motivation that keeps you going, when when you're finally there, he's really going to try because you've done it. You finally climbed to that moment where now you're going to see the proof. You're going to finally get that testimony that you can hold on to and say, nobody can take this from me. And some of you are going to discover that motivation that got you there, which everybody needs it. I'm not trying to discourage that's not a good thing. It is a good thing. But there's an event, there's a phenomenon that takes place where once you're there, you can't handle the pressure and you throw out